Chapter 69, I like it very much, I like it very much. He wants to cancel the marriage engagement. He didn't like Yao Shi. These two sentences suddenly surfaced from the depths of Jiang Xuaning's mind, smashing into her heart like two stones, breaking her forced calm and composure, and bringing infinite joy and excitement. There is no need to have any scruples. Because Zhang Xia didn't like Yao Shi, it was Zhang Xia who wanted to withdraw the marriage engagement, and she had a clear conscience in this matter, and she didn't use any secret means. She still kept her promise to him in her previous life, and she was not a bad person. Jiang Xuaning's heart was beating extremely fast. After Zhang Xia finished saying these two words, he said thank you and goodbye again, and turned around and walked along the long palace road. The moon in the sky darkened, but the stars shine brightly. Obviously, this deep palace shrouded in night was full of unpredictable crises, but Jiang Xuaning felt that the brilliance of the sky was draped on him, and she wanted to turn into one of them to light up the rugged way home for him. There was Chen Ying waiting for him in front. The little eunuch carried the lantern and hung his head. Zhang Xia's figure gradually approached. After all, Jiang Xuaning felt that she had to stand there and watch for too long, and if she fell into the eyes of someone with a heart, it would inevitably be too visible, so she turned around and walked back. The moment he turned his back, a smile overflowed his lips. In spite of the fact that in a few hours tonight she had been confronted with a near-life-and-death crisis, in this rare silence she did not want to think much about it for a while, and only wanted to soak in this joy purely, if only for a moment. I can't help but walk lightly. When she turned the corner of the road in front of her, she finally couldn't hold back a little playfulness and jumped forward. Yikes! Suddenly there was a startling sound around the corner. The lantern in the little eunuch's hand shook with it, and he subconsciously said, "Bold, dare to collide with the young master." Jiang Xuaning raised her head and saw Xie Wei standing in front of her, as if she didn't expect someone to pop out of the corner. There was a moment of surprise in her eyes, but after seeing that it was her, her brows furrowed heavily. She suddenly stiffened. Xie Wei turned his head, looked past her, and glanced towards the path she had come from. Chen Ying and Zhang Xia just came to the end. In a few moments, he was gone. But Xie Wei thought about it a little and knew that the foreign ministers who had just gone out of the inner palace at this hour didn't think about it except for Chen and Zhang of the criminal department, and then looked at Jiang Xuaning's smug appearance. Where did it seem that he had just been framed and escaped? Jiang Xuaning was inexplicably a little stunned, and slowly stood up straight, as if it was not her who jumped in front of the person just now, bowed respectfully, and saluted Xie Wei. "Mr. Xie is good." Xie Wei looked at her quietly, "Are you so happy?" Jiang Xuaning's scalp was numb. Xie Wei only took the lantern from the little eunuch beside him, waved his hand at him, and ordered him to retreat, before he said, "If I were you, I would have been framed by someone, and I would never have laughed if I escaped my life. Teach her a lesson again." Jiang Xuaning heard that his tone was not very good, and he thought that the pleasure he could get in this palace was only for a moment, and he couldn't allow people to be happy. He didn't speak. Xie Wei took the lantern and walked forward, saying, "How is it in Sinning Palace today? Can you see who wants to harm you?" Jiang Xuaning was a little stunned. Xie Wei turned his head to see that she was still standing in place, and his brows furrowed a little deeper. "You don't know how to keep up." Jiang Xuaning said, "But I don't take this road." Xie Wei said, "Yang's his eye is in the same direction as going out of the palace, can you go?" Jiang Xuaning shrank her neck, and finally reacted, "This is Xie Wei." Someone made a lantern and walked in front and asked her to follow, and she followed. Isn't it looking for death if she is disobedient? She bowed her head and followed. Xie Wei felt a little more angry at this time, and said as he walked, "Do you have eyebrows?" Zhang Xuning saw Zhang Sha's joy first, but was finally trampled and destroyed by this person. His mind cooled down, and he gradually felt that the cold air of this winter night could penetrate his body and bones. Recalling all the things in Sinning Palace, she was silent for a moment. Then he said slowly, "I found out that it was a ghost made by a little palace maid, but the Queen Mother said that it was too late, and it was not good to fight and kill outside the palace gate, so the saint asked her to be locked up in the Shen Criminal Division for interrogation. I don't know if I can get a result." Xie Wei lowered his eyes were cold, and he asked, "Who don't you suspect?" Zhang Xuning said, "I'm still thinking about it." Xie Wei didn't expect this eventful autumn. Not only did he have to take care of all kinds of things outside the palace, but also the palace didn't have half the power to protect himself. The more he thought about it, the more he pressed his heart. "Think about it carefully." Zhang Xuning said, "There are objects of suspicion, but there is no conclusive evidence." Xie Wei said, "Not everything needs evidence." Zhang Xuning thought about it. If you pay too much attention to whether the details are reasonable, sometimes it is inevitable to ignore the importance of the overall situation. He who stands at the foot of the mountain and he who stands on the top of the mountain will be the latter who will be able to see the whole picture. Xie Wei said, "This is not what I want." Zhang Xuning said in her heart, "That's not it." It must be known that in the previous life, she occasionally listened to Xie Wei speak to other auxiliary ministers of the cabinet outside the main hall of the palace, and she was extremely impressed and remembered it for a long time. What could he say to his own liking? It's just that Zhang Xuning remembered her guess, but her face was inevitably cloudy, and she said slowly, "Although I think she shouldn't be such a simple method, maybe it is because I think that it is inconsistent with her actions that makes her plan like this. After all, until this moment, I don't think she should be so unintelligent." However, looking at the overall situation, the Queen Mother's attitude is ambiguous. This person has the ability to buy the palace maid, and she can prepare the whole picture of the 4 rebellious words, and she can prepare them in advance. It is definitely not that she can do it after Wang Quan went to copy the palace ban. She must have known it long in advance, so that she could be calm today. Xie Wei then said, "Then what will happen to you? Even if he can secretly protect each other like today, he may not be there all the time. If Ning Er always has no power to protect himself, he will be like a canary in a cage, which is really not good." Zhang Xuning didn't know why. She felt that Xie Wei's successive questions tonight had a faint meaning of wanting to test her, but she shouldn't think too much about it at the moment, so she only replied, "I haven't done anything to be ashamed of people, so no matter who wants to harm me, they can't see me well after all. Then I want to live better, so that she will feel uncomfortable. And it's not that there is no way to cure her. If you don't return the color, maybe I feel that I am easy to handle and bully. Today, she dares to make me unhappy, and in the future, she will always make her sit and lie still, and it will be difficult to sleep and eat." This is said calmly. "It's like I have an idea." Xie Wei couldn't help but look back at her. The dim light of the lantern in her hand fell on her face, which made this delicate face bright, but she lowered her eyes and straightened her lips, and there was an indescribable indifference. Only then did he realize that she had lost the joy of her ancestors, and even lost the lightness and even a little shy smile. Then he realized that it was his presence that destroyed everything that had come before. Xie Wei felt that he was irritable again, and once again softened his stiff tone, and asked her, "Why did you take this path just now?" Zhang Xuning let out an "oh," and then thought of Zhang Shaila. Her eyebrows and eyes stretched a little, and said, "Lord Chen and Master Zhang are going here, and the students can only get out of danger when Master Zhang finds out the inside situation, so they chase them over and thank them." Although there was some disagreement with the courtesy, she was really not afraid at that moment. It's just that one thought, and I can't suppress it no matter what. Xie Wei saw her demeanor, and his footsteps suddenly stopped. Zhang Shat. Zhang Xuning raised her eyes to look at him and nodded. Xie Wei didn't smile originally, but at this moment, he looked at the corners of her eyes again, his face dropped a little, and asked her, "Isn't Yan Lin what you like?" Zhang Xuning was stunned. However, the next moment, Xie Wei's question made her explode all over. Do you like Zhang Shat? This is the most terrifying thing about Xie Juan. Anyone standing in front of him, showing the slightest flaw, will be seen through by him, even if he is covered in a thick skin. It is difficult to resist. Zhang Xuning panicked for a moment. But then I thought, what is there to panic about? She really doesn't love Yan Lin, and with all the things in her previous life, it is impossible to throw away her heart and love. Now she is not a queen. Without the constraints of so many rituals, she can face her heart and her emotions openly. That little bit of brightness like a swim finally returned to the corners of her eyebrows again. Zhang Xuning looked back at Xie Wei, and said boldly and honestly, "I like it." Xie Wei stared at her without speaking. She remembered her shame for Zhang Shat in her previous life, and her eyebrows couldn't help but go down again, only to feel that the tip of her tongue and heart were a little bitter, and she added in a low voice with a little astringency, "I like it very much, I like it very much."